And then we added to it the advent of the Europeans. First, we understood the Portuguese, which had a virtual monopoly between 1498 to 1602 in India, which is that they were the only European power. They became extremely important. They were able to enter into even the Mughal court via Father Pinheiro, and they used to control a lot of things. However, their blue water policy meant that their obsession was generally with the water. They never ever thought about expanding into India or colonizing India, and that is why we were technically not colonized by the Portuguese. By the time we come to 1602, the Dutch emerge. Both English and Dutch East India companies are formed. Though the Dutch is formed 2 years after, they are the first to come to India. And by 1605, they're able to get Moslipat. And the Dutch also do a strategic mistake, or whatever you want to call it, is that they are more interested about Indonesia than the Indian subcontinent itself. They wanted to control this sector rather than controlling India itself. And when the British land in India in 1608, 1609, they had a situation in which the Portuguese were there, but the Dutch had already made them weak. The Dutch were there, but they were not interested in India. And now the English will start to, start to use their smart innocence, if you want to call it, to very specifically start to expand. The subject member expert has pushed you can see it in the chat box. It's here. You can see the path to the question, the test tomorrow. So very simply, and you can attempt it at any point of time. That's not the problem. The basic point of the matter is the advent of Europeans. There were the Portuguese and the Dutch already in India. However, they were not able to or were not interested in expanding in India too much. What was the reason for that? Which I told you, one of the reasons, which was linked to their nature. Very good. They were actually obsessed with only controlling trade because they were public companies or governmentally funded companies or governmentally funded officers. So they did not need an aggressive strategy. They did not even aggressive strategy. Now the English turn up, but as I told you, the English were a private joint stock company which had a lot of investors and they wanted profit and dividend. So therefore, their orientation was totally different. Till this point is clear, right? That what is the basic nature of these two and what is the approach change. Because if it is clear, then I'll repeat what we did yesterday with regards to the timeline. I need your thumbs up, yes, whatever. I need it because I need to know if you are following me in this story. Because we start from where we left yesterday. Okay, great. Now, when we stopped yesterday, we had already seen the British expand in a way in India. And Rahul, don't have to worry. You just have to concentrate. Whatever I'm doing, I'm repeating whatever we did yesterday, which is independent of any other discussion which we had. So very simply, we have the first and most important interaction, 1608, 1609, 1611, 1612, and then the most important date, 1613, 1615, and then after 1615, a major moment in their history, which is 1632 and 1639. These are the dates which we discussed. So the basic point is the English tried to influence the court of Jahangir between this period, but the problem is that the Portuguese presence is not helping. Portuguese presence is not allowing. However, if you remember again, Again, don't have to learn the names of the battles. But in 1611 and 12, the British are able to defeat the Portuguese on sea and therefore show their supremacy. And with the gifts and these basic convincing battles, specifically Jahangir became very impressed with the way the Portuguese were technically defeated by the British, and the British were operating in India, literally stuffed Jahangir with as many gifts as possible. And that in turn leads to a very important moment in Indian history, which is called the 1613 Jahangir Farman. He gave two farmans, one in 1613 and in 1615. 1613 gave them access or allowed them to establish, very good, a factory at where? To establish a factory at Surat. Perfect, great. And 1615 gave them access to Bengal, but one thing which I didn't tell you yesterday because I needed the larger picture today is that it also allowed them to go to Agra, Broch is nothing but Gujarat, larger Gujarat, Ahmedabad, and basically this allowed them to trade internally in India. And one more important place where they will actually turn up is a place called Mauslipatnam. Why is Mauslipatnam so important? Along with Ahmedabad, why is Mauslipatnam so important? Yes, very good. Was at this point of time the Dutch city. It was a Dutch city, so the Dutch were already there. Now the English got a chance to just open a factory next to the Dutch. So this is where the Anglo-Dutch rivalry is becoming more and more pronounced. And the Dutch will feel that we don't technically need this because we have Indonesia. And you will see how their orientation will totally shift. Now, by 1615, they have a presence in Surat, in Broch, in Agra, in Ahmedabad, in Mauslipatnam, and they are expanding. But the major turning point came in 1632, and that 1632, Mauslipatnam is important because it's a Dutch port. That was the most important aspect. It was about undercutting the Dutch in India. And the 1632 Farman is called literally the Golden Farman. And the Golden Farman was given by Golconda ruler. And the Golconda ruler gave them the concept of 500 pagodas, which is their currency. And you have to pay no internal trade. And just to give you a very brief recap of why is it important. Again, see, A, B, C, D, whatever, A, B, B, C, whatever, the basic point of the matter is, when I'm not giving the name of the rulers, I'm strategically not giving you the name of the ruler because there is already a lot of words and names which you need to remember. So if I think it is extremely necessary, then I give it to you. If it is not, I will not bombard you with unnecessary facts. This is one thing which you need to understand. Sahil rather. The basic point of the matter is, I will never ever give you anything which is not necessary. So this you should understand that the PPT does not have unnecessary data. So if you want the name of the ruler, that's a separate issue altogether. But for the purpose of the examination, that technically doesn't matter. Is this clear, everybody? I'm coming to the page again very simply. We need to understand this because there's a lot to learn here than actually the name of the ruler. So 1608 to 1609 try to find their space. 1611, 1612 show that they can defeat the Portuguese. 1613, 15, very important, Surat presence comes in, and the presence in Ahmedabad, Broach and Moslipatam means that the Dutch power was starting to go away. But the most important moment was the Golconda ruler. So, Shalu, the point is Moslipatam is not directly under the rule of Mughals. However, a Mughal farman, a Mughal order has a lot of authority. So you can go anywhere and say that the Mughals, Jahangir has sent me. At this point of time, that holds a lot of power in that sense. Now, what was the problem in the arrangement? So as I told you, the 500 pagodas per annum, according to the foolish and myopic rulers or ruler, the problem was that it was based on a certain volume. The basic point is, if you had to pay internal duties, you would bring in less amount of volume itself. But once you fix it, they exponentially increase the tonnage, and that was still fixed at 500 pagodas. It's like when you go to a restaurant, and when you actually have to give the bill of everything which you eat, you look at the menu, you look at the zeros, and you order very categorically. That was before the golden farman. But if it's a buffet, you've paid something, now what you will try to do is, you will try to eat more than the amount of the buffet itself. If the buffet was 500 rupees, you will eat everything, anything, and at such volume, so that you can make up for the 500 rupees which you give. Same thing you do in marriages. You have given a gift to the bride and groom. Now you will try to eat your way into getting that money out of the food of the marriage itself. So if you can understand the importance of the golden farman is literally golden because it allows for unlimited increase in volume and no consequent rise in taxes. No consequent rise in taxes. Is this point clear? Farman means order. This is where we stopped yesterday in a way. We stopped here. You all were in agreement with me that this is a foolish move by the Golconda ruler. So can I now move forward? This was the recap of whatever we did yesterday. Can we move on? I need everybody's session. Great. Perfect. Now, the next most important date is 1639. 1639 is a very important, in that sense, date in that sense, because now they are able to move a little bit more south from Moslipatam and on the eastern coast. Because what happens is that the English are able to negotiate, plead, literally bribe the ruler of Chandragiri. Again, I'm not giving you the name. The ruler of Chandragiri, to give them a concession. And that concession today is called Chennai, but previously called Madras. So basically, the 1639 moment is called the Chandragiri concession, in which Madras comes to the British control. But the most important thing is that British build their first fort called Fort St. George at Madras. This is the first fortified settlement of the British in India, and now this becomes the headquarters of Eastern or Bay of Bengal trade. I have everything written in the PPT. Just follow this basic timeline. They have now been able to get concession in Golconda, and here they can trade at any volume without any issue. And now they have a part of Madras. Therefore, their presence in the Bay of Bengal is consolidated. Make sense? That why the Chandragiri Farman is considered so important? Because very simply, they were already having a very important presence in Golconda, but now they have the first fort. Basically, they have a fortified settlement, and simply for a very, 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 very small fee, one of the most beautiful and strategic ports in India, which is Chennai, Madras, has been given to the British. And again, this is a major foolishness because the king got appeased by the British. You, the mighty ruler of Chandragiri, small area we want to fill the fort. You are unparalleled against all powers in India. No one cares about the ruler of Chandragiri. Does not have the power to even step out of his area. But he is boosted. This is what the British actually do. British very categorically, innocently, but very devilish innocence, they technically play with the local rulers. So, in a joke between 1613 to 1639, they are now controlling. Appeasement means to make somebody happy. They are now controlling Surat, Mauslipatnam, have presence in Agra, Broch, Ahmedabad. So both on east and west, and now they have their own city also. So this buttering was working. Clear till this point? Details of this discussion, as you know, as I always do, I'm giving you the larger picture, then we'll go into the nitty-gritty. Everything is given, who went, negotiated with whom, everything is there. For me, what matters is, because you can expect a mains answer from here or mains question from here, you need to be able to write it in your own words. And that is why I always give you the story in the easiest way possible, so that you can create a picture in your mind. So I am trying to show you a picture, and the picture is called British presence in India growing. And I hope that now you can see how they are spotting in India and very simply increasing their presence. It starts with the Surat sector. Once Jahangir becomes happy, then Bengal, Agra, Broch, Ahmedabad, Golconda, and now 1639 is called the Chandragiri concession, which is nothing but Madras fort. I'll do one thing, I'll read everything till this point out of the PPT, and it should totally consolidate everything. Can I do that? You can make this timeline in the answer, but you have to write answers in very less time. You will never get a time to do that. Okay, let's do this. So as I said, first person to come to India, Thomas Stevens, Jesuit, comes to India. Then Ralph Fitch, then 1599, John Middlehowe. And once they all see the potential of India, 1600, East India Company is formed as a joint stock company. This we already discussed yesterday. We discussed that this was technically a impulse because of the Anglo-Dutch rivalry which was developing. Because the Dutch presence was increasing in India, the English wanted to undercut the Dutch. So the Portuguese were undercut by the Dutch, and the Dutch were undercut by the English. So it's a chain of European powers. We'll talk about the battle of what is called Bedara or Hugli. We'll discuss that, but it's later. It's later. There are two dates which are important, 1667 and 1759. We'll discuss that. Then, as I said, first, Captain Hawkins will go to Jahangir's court, try to get concessions, but he will not be able to because of Portuguese presence. James I will renew the charter from 15 years to forever. And in 1613, Jahangir will give a very important farman to trade in Surat with exemption from inland toll tax and free trade. Basically, he was very happy. He said, you trade in Surat, I will not tax you here. But that was based on the 1611 and 1612 interaction of Captain Middleton and Captain Best defeating Portuguese both in this sector. So now comes the Golden Farman. Now I'm taking the story forward. The English company was able to get a very important farman called the Golden Farman from the Sultan of Golconda in 1632. And on the payment of 500 pagodas a year, they earned the privilege to trade within Golconda for free. Then in 1639, the person who negotiated it, which is Francis Day, obtained the site of Chennai or Madras from the ruler of Chandragiri. The member of the Mauchlypatnam Council, which is Francis Day itself, received in 1639 properly the permission to build a fortified settlement where they will build what is called Fort St. George, and they will now shift their headquarters from Mauchlypatnam, and therefore Madras will become the headquarters of English settlements. Now in 1640s, by this point of time, Fort St. George is going to become the headquarters of the English in eastern coast. Mauchlypatnam was given to them by the 1615 concept. So I hope you are understanding why do they want to shift from Mauchlypatnam to Madras, because in the Mauchlypatnam still the Dutch are sitting. So they wanted their own independent settlement, that is Madras. So I hope this type of strategy is working. Understanding the story first, then looking at the PPT, and then revising again. I'm coming to the Bengal Farman. Wait, I'm coming to that. Very important in that sense. Very important in that sense. I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you on a map also so that there is no issue. Give me 1 second. See, this is Mauchlypatnam. This is Mauchlypatnam, though it was a Dane also. And Chennai is somewhere here. So they wanted to shift from here to here. So they are technically shifting their port from and going. So Golconda they already controlled, and now they are controlling Madras also. Right? Geography clear? Can I move on in the story? What is called the Bengal Farman or the Shah Shuja Farman? Very important. Okay, great. Is this clear? Come on, I need your, as I said, can't sit there and you have to tell me. You have to tell me it's okay. Great. Okay. Now, the next most important, and I'll consolidate everything into a timeline itself. The next most important moment for the English in India is 1651. And 1651, the ruler, not the ruler, the governor of Bengal, and we'll discuss him by the end of this class itself. His name is not Farukhsiyar. Shah Shuja-ud-Din. He will, I'm not doing optional level. This is nothing related to optional level. There can be a question, that's a separate issue altogether, but I'm not doing optional level, not even touching optional. Optional, we have to go a step further. Now, so the governor of Bengal, Shah Shuja-ud-Din, will now become extremely close to the British. The bankers of Bengal also like the British quite a lot. And he will do, and trust me, I'll talk about Shuja-ud-Din, don't worry, when we'll talk about Bengal. He will do he's not the son of Shah Jahan, not related to Shah Jahan in any way or form. He's technically the son of Murshid Quli Khan. We'll discuss that. Basic point is the governor of Bengal, Shah Sujauddin, has now given or will technically do a major blunder what the Golconda rulers did, and this is called the Bengal Farman. Till 1639, their presence is mostly in the Maulispatnam and Madras territory. Now they again go and try to appease Sujauddin, who is the Bengal governor, and they are able to get the Bengal Farman, one of the most important ones. And what does the Bengal Farman say? The Bengal Farman say, in return of rupees 3,000 per annum, and this is actually rupiah. Rupiah was introduced by the Mughals in India. It's a silver coin. That is why the word rupehla. Sunehra means gold coin. Rupehla, whose shine is less. So rupiah, silver. So in return for rupees 3,000, rupiah 3,000 per annum per year, English can trade in Bengal without paying any other tax or duties. And this is considered the most dangerous thing which could be possible. Why? Because 80% of all English trade was from Bengal. So they're taking salt, pepper, they're taking silk, they're taking cotton, they're taking pepper, they're taking everything. 80% of all trade of the English is from Bengal. And now for the just meager amount of 3,000 rupiah per annum, the English can trade duty free. What is going to be the impact of this? You already know the answer to that. Come on, tell me. What is going to be the impact of this? Perfect. Which is they will increase tonnage, increase volume, and start to over exploit this privilege. They will start to over exploit the privilege. Basically, now what has happened? Try to understand this. The Jahangir, Golconda, Chandragiri, and Shah Suja. Jahangir gave them access to which areas? Surat, Ahmedabad, Maulispatnam, Agra, and basically a little bit of Bengal. Presence in Bengal. Golconda ruler gives them tax-free trade in Golconda state, which means the Deccan. Chandragiri, Broch, very good. Broch. Chandragiri technically gives them Madras, their eastern headquarters, and this was for only 500 pagodas. And now Shah Suja finally has given then Bengal tax-free trade for just 3,000 rupiah per annum. I hope that you are able to realize, the Deccan would be modern day Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra sector. I hope that you realize the implications of these things. That very simply, the English are putting their roots into India. So they have found a very easy way to increase tonnage, which is the ruler wants fixed income. So you give that ruler 3,000 or 500 pagodas and you trade like anything. So basically, the English had found the key to the buffet called India. Pay upfront and eat as much as possible so that you can make up for that upfront payment. Be it 500 or be it 3,000. This is extremely dangerous and extremely important. These farmans are the what we call as tools for the establishment of the English in India. For the English in India. Mudpi will discuss why not West, because in West there's a very powerful power, the Marathas. They will not touch them right now. We'll discuss that. The basic point of the matter is Jahangir, Golconda, Chandragiri and Shah Shuja simply have given the British 4 pillars to trade in India. And most of them are actually in the eastern coast, because eastern coast was easier to manage and looking towards China. Is this clear? This is called Golden Farman and this is called Bengal Farman. I need your understanding here because these are the 4 pillars and the next most dangerous pillar is coming. Now, very simply, the British will start to over-exploit these two. They will very simply start to over-exploit the 2 farmans, which is that they were now bringing in a lot of tonnage, which was too much and nothing compared to 500 or 3,000. Very simply, we started our story wherein the British just expanded or started to expand in India. 2 farmans of Jahangir gave them limited access to certain areas, and thereafter the Golden Farman will give them the major boost in the Deccan sector, and thereafter the Chandragiri will make them shift their capital or shift technically their most important headquarters of the eastern trade to Madras, and now they are technically able to fool Sujauddin to give them the most important concession possible, which is trade in Bengal without even 1 ounce of trade duty once you pay 3,000. It's basically it's technically pennies in front of what they were actually trading at. Is this clear? Sujauddin is a person. Sujaudollah and Sujauddin are different. We'll discuss that, Sachin. We'll discuss that. There is Sirajudollah, Sujaudollah and Sujauddin. We'll discuss all 3. We have to discuss today only. Don't worry. Don't go forward in the story. Just be with me. I am systematically coming to everything. Now, by 1661, again, Ritvik said thrice, Sujauddin is not the son of Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan had 2 sons, Dara Shikoh, Aurangzeb. They will fight to come to power. Sujauddin has nothing to do with Shah Jahan. Now, 1661, because he's called Shah Shuja does not mean he's the son of Shah Jahan. Okay. Now, yes, it is Abhijit. The basic point of the matter is that by 1661, the British finally get a very important trading center in the West Coast. And what is the West Coast? What is the West Coast where they get the control? Which is that city? The financial capital of India. Very good. Bombay. Bombay. Now what? How did they get Bombay or Mumbai? See, before 1661, Bombay was a Portuguese colony. Portuguese colony. But Bombay technically was not that prosperous at this point of time. You know where the origin of the word Bombay comes from? No? In Portuguese, Bo means good. Good bay. Good harbor. Good harbor. Bay and Bo are technically two words in Portuguese for good. Muito bem, meaning very good. So, muito bom. It changes with feminine and masculine. But you have Bombay. Bombay. It's a Portuguese colony. The name itself was given by the Portuguese. Now, the unlikeliest of marriages will happen in Europe, and the British king Charles II will marry a Portuguese queen called Catherine Braganza, and the Portuguese were so dumb, look at their dumbness, that in the dowry of this marriage, the Portuguese will give Bombay to England. Portuguese did not care about Bombay. So in 1661, the Bombay sector was handed to the English on a platter by the Portuguese. And what happens is that 1668, gift, Pritam, gift. It's a gift. Portuguese gift the British Bombay as a form of dowry, as a form of gift in the marriage. Now, 1668, the English crown transfer it to East India Company. And now Bombay will be made the Western headquarters. Western headquarters. Very simply, this is the basic point. That British were lucky at all points of time. So, 1661, the British have technically now got Bombay on a platter. And now if you look at their presence in India, they are in Surat, they are in Bombay, which comes to then in 1668. They get 1613 Surat. They are able to get Mauslipatnam by 1615. They're able to get Madras. If this was the coast of India, they are getting Madras by 1639. They have Golconda by 1632. They have now Bengal, which is 1651. And their presence in India is expanding exponentially. is expanding exponentially, and by 1668 they will be able to get Bombay, and now their presence is on both sides of India, Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. Is this story clear? Is this story clear? Great. In between this, in 1667, the British and Dutch go into an agreement. And the agreement is very simply, let's concentrate on our own areas. The Dutch will more or less give up India and say we will concentrate on Indonesia, and the English will say we will like to expand in India. So the Anglo-Dutch rivalry is technically gone by the time we come to 1667. So again, to repeat what is happening, 1613, 1615, 1632, 1639, 1651, 1661, 1667, 1668. These are the dates we've discussed till this point. Again, I'll give you a master timeline, don't worry. And very simply, this is Surat, this is Broch, Ahmedabad, you have Bengal presence, Agra, and Mauchlypatnam. You have Golconda here by the Golconda Golden Farman. 1639 is Madras. 1651 is Bengal, tax-free. English get Bombay as dowry. Anglo-Dutch rivalry ends. Bombay given to East India Company, and Western headquarter developed. Do you know how much rent did the East India Company need to give to the crown for Bombay? Guess. It is an amount, 10,000, 5,000, 1,000 in pounds. 1 pound is 2 or less. 101 million pounds. Okay. 1,03,000. 10 pounds. I can count it on my hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 pounds annually for one of the most beautiful natural harbors in India. Natural harbors. Bombay is considered till today, Mumbai is one of the most strategically located natural harbors. Annually, with this exchange rate, you and me can pay for Bombay. Technically, for today, 1,000 rupees. 1,000 rupees, they technically, today, 2023, for 1,000 rupees today, you could get Bombay as the whole settlement itself. I know, Pranay, but that is totally different context, because that was Mir Qasim calling them. Don't worry about that. The absurdity of this story is that the English were always right time, right place. Right time, right place. Now, can I move ahead in the story? We lost the chance. Okay. Unfortunately, you were not born when this was happening. Okay. How they got the Anglo-Dutch rivalry sorted? Very simply, they said that why fight when we can both concentrate on Indonesia and India? See, Europeans are all the same. when it comes to exploiting, they're all the same. So very simply, they said, why do I need to fight with you when I have Indonesia and you have India? Why fight with each other? Why fight with each other? What's the point of fighting with each other? Very simply, let's not fight. Let's not fight. So they are able to resolve their issues. They're able to resolve their issues via this only. Via this only. So very simply, the English are very systematically expanding. 10 pounds was given by East India Company, a private company, to the British Crown for the exchange of Bombay. So very simply, simplest of simplest explanation, the concept is that the British are increasing their presence in India. They are exploiting and they are also over trading in India. Now a natural question, Abhijit, I have not seen your question. I will answer. You put the question. I can see it. Don't worry about that. Again, British brought what from Europe? Please tell. In what context, Shalu? Very simply, see, British Crown and British Company. Monarchy is the British. That is the British Crown. Charles II. East India Company is a company like the government of India and Tata, if you can think like that. Okay. Well, Dheeraj, if you want to say it like that, very simply, see, 1661, they got the British Crown, government of India in that sense, the government of the British got Bombay. 1668, they transferred it to the East India Company. Are you getting my point? What is the difference between these two? The dowry, the gift is given to the crown, but the crown transfers it to the East India Company. For example, India gets a small island of Africa and the government of India gives it to Tata for an annual amount. That is what is technically happening here. What are the British importing into India? Only gold and silver. They are only bringing gold and silver at this point of time. They are taking from India a lot, they have nothing to sell to India, which we'll discuss when we'll talk about economics or economic history of the British in India. The question is not what is Dutch, who is Dutch. Dutch are nothing but Netherlands. The Dutch country, Netherlands country, they both are, their presence is in India, and basically Dutch now start to want to concentrate on the Indonesian sector, and whilst that is happening, British will now start to expand in India. Is this clear? There is nothing they can import. I will discuss that with you. There's nothing they can import. They can't sell anything to us. They just bring gold and silver and take what they need to take. Okay. Very simply, the British now have two important areas which they control. Two important areas which they control, both the east and the west coast. Battle of Buena already done, which is that when the English wanted to go towards the Indonesian sector, the Dutch literally murdered the British and they said, stay away from Indonesia. That is why the English became more interested in India. That is much before than what is actually happening, 1632 itself. Simple point is, are you able to follow this timeline? Okay, very good. Is there making coins? Christian, not right now. Who came first to India? Portuguese, then Dutch, then English. Portuguese, Dutch, English. We already had this conversation previously. Okay. So for anybody who's this is first class, are you able to follow what I'm doing here? I'm just giving you the way the British is expanding in India. Danes are going to come after the British. Is this making sense? Okay. What was Dutch East India? What Dutch East India is nothing but Indonesia. East India Company, VOC is separate. They used to call Indonesia East Indies. Okay. French will also come, Priyanka, why not? But they will come after the Danes. I am coming to that. The French were very late to India. Very, very late to India. Okay. See, Kishan, they give equivalent gold and silver in rupiah and pagoda. So they bring literal gold and silver and they pay. Okay. Abhishek, I'll tell you that, don't worry. When I'll give you a break, I'll come back and tell you, don't worry about it. Let's take this story forward. Okay. Portuguese undercut by the Dutch, Dutch undercut by the English, English are there, everyone. Now a very natural question which should have come to your mind is that didn't anybody realize that the British are over exploiting their farmans? This is a natural question, that so much is happening, the English are expanding in India. Why didn't anybody notice? Why didn't anybody notice that this was technically happening? And ironically, it is the unlikeliest of persons who became extremely wary and extremely suspicious of the British. And his name is Aurangzeb. In 1668 to 89 period, this period, 1668 to 89 period, Aurangzeb started to realize that the British are over exploiting India. And in a major moment, when Aurangzeb will ask the British to not exploit the farmans given by his forefathers, he will say that you are exploiting the basic concept here. The English will say, we don't care. We don't care. And in 1688-89, Aurangzeb will actually seize all British settlements and factories in North India, specifically in Bengal. What Aurangzeb will do is that he can see the British is literally exploiting the farmans given by Shah Shuja and Jahangir. He will say to the British, need to stop. But the British will say, we don't care. And once the British will say, we don't care, Aurangzeb will say, then I'll tell you who I am in that sense. And basically, Aurangzeb did a very major thing. He's a Mughal ruler. And very simply, Aurangzeb, in a way, broke the British control in India. And he was the only one who actually realized the termites, the poison called the English. He could see that the English are over exploiting. They are not that innocent. So the 1688-89 period is considered very, very significant, because here Aurangzeb will literally enter into British territory and kick them out of their settlement, saying, you go where you want to go, we don't care, but you are now, or you have to listen to the Mughals. Make sense? What is Aurangzeb's problem and British over-exploitation? Great. If you understand this, the most significant thing he did was that he withdrew the Shah Shuja Farman. which is take back the 300 rupiah clause. And now the British will literally lose their mind. Lose their mind. He said, you pay how much you owe. This 3,000 rupees is not going to work. Is not going to work. Now the British will lose their mind. They thought that they had India in the bag. But Aurangzeb has now technically made them back to square one in Bengal. So what will the British do? What will the British do? Guess. See, the British are very simply expanding in India unchecked. Aurangzeb realizes that the British are over-exploiting, and they are over-exploiting. So he says, stop misusing the Bengal farman. British say, we don't care, go away. Aurangzeb goes and removes the British from Bengal and withdraws the farman itself. Now, if you are smart, you would know that the British would never protest, because they know one thing, which is plead. Literally plead. Literally plead. They go between 1689 to 1690 every day to Aurangzeb's court. Please, mistake, galti hogi. Please give us our farman back. Please, this is a gift I have brought for you. Please, please give it. Literally, please. Please, we were wrong. We didn't understand what was happening. They understand everything. They literally were in the feet of Aurangzeb. Please, 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 please give us our Bengal farman back. And the British knew that if they were protest, they were not that strong in India at this point of time. And unfortunately, unfortunately, Aurangzeb will reinstate or return the privileges back to the British in 1690. And this is the blunder which Aurangzeb does, which is to not again understand that the British are the people who shed crocodile tears, which is that he somehow was not able to understand the larger picture here, that the British were just doing a drama. And unfortunately, in 1690, Aurangzeb will reinstate the power of the British in India. And this will be seen as the major turning point in Indian history itself. So, we've been doing a lot of dates. 1688-89 is the period where they fight, and 1690 is the period in which he reinstates. If this made sense, I would like to do it through the PPT. Can we discuss this? Is everything making sense? A lot of you are very silent today. I need your feedback in this. I need your feedback in this. Okay. Yes, no? Okay. Can I move forward and discuss the relationship? Great. Great. Great, 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 great. Perfect. Perfect. Yashovarman, I'm doing what the way we have to move. This is the most important story. This is the most important story. If you understand this story, French and Danes are just footnotes. Why did he return without any reason? Shaykh, this is called egos of kings. Egos of kings. Neha, what we are doing today is that we are taking the story forward, which we were discussing yesterday, which is that how did the British, this is this point, which is how did the British establish their rule in India? And the basic point is, for that they have to secure their presence in India. And if they need to secure their presence in India, they need to very systematically get trading posts in India. Therefore, what we are doing is this whole timeline is nothing but a series of transactions, of concessions which the British is getting from time to time in this whole story. The basic point is very simple, that the British knew one thing, which is a better policy, appeasement, which is to make people happy, or to fight at this point of time. The Dutch had given up on India. Dilip. That is the basic point. Okay. The British knew act like a beggar. However, they were not beggars. They were a very powerful power from Europe, but they were actually very, very clear. They knew that if they will massage the egos of the kings, they will automatically give. Aurangzeb gave it after a whole round of appeasement. So you see, how did the Mughal and the British relationship automatically develop? After the two defeats of the Portuguese, Jahangir gave two concessions. We know 1613 and 15. 1613 allowed the English to set up their first factory in India, Surat, and had now an ambassador of the British in the Surat fort itself. 1615, Sir Thomas Roe came to Jahangir's court and then somehow got Agra, Ahmedabad, Broach, Mauslipatnam, and even Bengal as the new area in which they can operate. 1651, we know that Shah Shuja gave them the privilege to trade in India for the payment, in Bengal for free, for just 3,000 rupees per annum. Now, the relationship will start to become a little bit problematic under Aurangzeb. I'll tell you what you need to learn first. Just enjoy this story. I'm telling you a story. Just listen to the story. I will tell you what to learn, what not to learn. Don't worry about that. When we talk about Aurangzeb by 1686 started to become more and more wary of how the British were technically operating in India. So the English, when they technically used aggression to take something in Hooghly, they will declare war on Aurangzeb, because Aurangzeb wanted to control the British. And in 87, the Mughals will retaliate by capturing all English settlements in Bengal. And between 88 and 89, John Child, the British under John Child, will literally harass a Hajj pilgrimage which was going via the Mughal Hajj pilgrimage going to Makkah, Medina, and therefore the Mughals will become even more aggressive, and the factories at Bombay, Surat, Mauslipatnam and everything will be taken by the Mughals, and that will only be returned after they paid 1.5 lakh rupiah to the British. However, to the Mughals rather. However, the emperor will pardon the British for their transgression, and in turn the farman which gave them concessions was reinstated. So again, very simply, sacked means go and fight in Hooghly. Very simply, 1632 they get Golconda, 1639 they get the Madras sector, 1661 they get Bombay. The period between 1668 to 1689 is a period in which Aurangzeb starts to realize the problems. And the Hajj pilgrimage moment is important because Muslims go to, and it's a very holy pilgrimage from India to Mecca, Medina, and that pilgrimage was technically interrupted by the British. Then Aurangzeb will lose his mind and take everything they had in this whole North Indian sector. But then the British will start to appease, pay compensation and everything, and somehow find a way to get this privilege back in 1690. Now, just one more thing is going to happen. But before that, let me make the timeline again. Are you following the story? What is happening? British rise and then fall, then again rise once they get the reinstated power. I'll make the timeline again and let us see that how the British are able to figure this out here. Let me make the timeline again. See, how you revise all this is through timelines. See, very simply. 1613, 1615, 1632, 1639, 1651, 1668, 1687, 1689, 1690, 1691. These are the dates which we are playing with, and each of them has a very specific purpose. I hope now you all are going to tell me what is the significance of these dates. We're doing it for the 6th time now. 1613, why important? Come on. Whose farman is this? We'll revise. Very good. This is Jahangir's farman. And this is also Jahangir's farman. Very good. What does 1630 give to them? Surat. Very good. 1650 gives them, 1615 give them Agra, Mauchlypatnam, Broch, Ahmedabad and Bengal, but only presence. 1632, why is it important? Very good, Golden Farman. Now, 1639, why important? Very good, Chandragiri concession. Madras. 1651, why important? Great Bengal Shah Shuja Farman. Bombay. Now, this is the period in which there is a clash between Aurangzeb and the English. First, Aurangzeb takes away and removes them from Bengal. But when there will be a naval skirmish between these two, it will in turn lead to him taking even Surat, Ahmedabad and the Broad sector. However, 1690 emperor is going to, which is Mughal emperor, which is Aurangzeb, is going to pardon, and this is the reinstatement of Bengal Farman. You can make this yourself, and I hope you can understand how this is happening. This is the only period in which the British find it difficult. Other than that, they are very, very quick to realize how they need to play India. Is it clear now, everybody? Totally clear? Very good. I will make this timeline again, but not one, but three of them. Let me finish the story by reaching 1717. Can I do that? Can I reach 1717? Now, do you get why I gave you the Mughal decline first? Who is Aurangzeb? Who is Sujauddin? And who is now the basic man who sold India? Literally sold India, and his name is Farukhsiyar. His name is, yes, 1690, the Bengal Farman is written. His name is Farukhsiyar. Farukhsiyar, after the British realized that their presence in India is now secured, gave them a major concession in 1717. In a mission, in a person called John Sherman will go and again literally bribe the Mughal emperor. literally bribe the Mughal emperor, please, please, you are too big. Why you mighty Mughal cannot give me something more? Their language was of appeasement. That we are just beggars. We are European beggars asking for small concessions. If you give us this concession, it will be a very big thing for us. But this 10,000 rupees is nothing for you. You just threw away 10,000 rupees on wine. So why not give something to us? This is the opportunistic, but very smart British operating in India in such a way that they get what they want by just going and saying to the rulers, you are the best. You are the best. So in 1717, John Sermon gets 3 famous orders or farmans from Farukhsiyar, and these were very, very important for the Bengal, Gujarat and Hyderabad sector. And this is called the Magna Carta. 1691, what happened, Shivam? He reinstated the Farman. 1690, he pardoned. 1691. Now, why is it called Magna Carta? See, our constitution is called Indian Constitution, right? It's called the Indian Constitution. Yes or no? It's called the Indian Constitution. Constitution of India. They call it Magna Carta. Magna Carta is the word which is used for their constitution. But what is the difference between the British and Indian constitution? Does anybody know that? Very good. Our constitution is written down. However, their constitution is not written. It is based on traditions. It is based on precedents. It is based on basic ideas of law. But there is no written constitution. It's an unwritten constitution. Same way, this is called the Magna Carta of the British in India. Because after this, they will rule India literally. So can we discuss the provisions of the 1717 Farman? And thereafter we consolidate everything, go to the Danish and the French and close this theme itself. Very good. Now, what is the first? In Bengal, company can import, export for the 3,000 rupees concept. Basically, 3,000 rupees, import, export, and don't have to pay any duty. This was already there. This was restating the Shuja Farman. But now you see how they literally are able to get a monopoly in southern India. In Hyderabad, company retains all its privileges which it had under Golconda, and that too just pay the rent of Madras and everything is covered under it. Basically pay a meager amount to the local ruler, and for that local ruler rent for which the Chandragiri concession was given, we give you ultimate trading rights in the Hyderabad sector. No duties, nothing to be paid, just pay the rent of Madras, which was again a meager, very meager amount of close to 1 to 2,000 rupiah. Nothing for a fort. Then the ultimate sell-off of India comes in here, which is now trade in Surat for free. Just pay 10,000 rupees upfront. This is nothing but Surat Farman, under which the same thing for which they were paying 3,000 rupees in Bengal, they only have to pay 10,000 for Surat. And Surat at this point of time is the trading capital of India. Trade in Gujarat for no duties pay only 10,000. Now, what is even more dangerous is the company can mint means produce its own coins, and they are equivalent to Mughal coins. No duties means no internal taxes. Just pay this on front. The basic point is company now issues their own coins, and those coins are equivalent to the Mughal coins, rupiah. And they are now also allowed to expand in 3 villages which they had already taken from Sasuja, which is now called Calcutta. Calcutta was technically, I'll show it to you here. Calcutta was nothing but three villages which they got in 1698. Sutani, Kalikata and Govindpur. Together they built what is called Calcutta, and Calcutta is where they built their fort called Fort William. Fort George, St. George in Madras, Fort William in Bengal. So let me again write it down. I write it down and it will make more sense. Are you understanding the implications of what is happening here? Now they have literal monopoly in 3 sectors: Surat, Hyderabad, Bengal, and they also gave, Farukhsiyar did the dumbest thing possible, which is the company can transfer its privileges for this 10,000, 3,000 and rent to anybody via pass, which is called dastak. Now let me consolidate this. What does this 17 farman technically have? Bengal pay rupees 3,000, no duties per annum. Surat pay rupees 10,000, no duties, and which factory got converted? Calcutta, Fort William. Hyderabad pay rent of Madras and pay no duties and do not have to pay any taxes. Issue your own coins and can transfer all of these privileges, to anyone via a pass called dastak. Basically, how we all share passwords today for Netflix, for Disney Plus Hotstar, for different OTT platforms. Simply, they said, if you want to give this privilege to someone else, just write a dastak and say, we the English authorize you to exercise the same power as the British. Very simply, the British can now produce their own currency, and very simply, they can transfer all of their rights and all of their privileges to anybody via a dastak, pass. Now, the basic point is, does this farman show maturity of Farukhsiyar? Well, Apurva, I can understand that's a very emotional line. He gave everything, why not give the whole Mughal empire? That's a very emotional thing to say. But the basic point is, this is foolishness. This is literal foolishness. Now you tell me, and I'm asking you this very simple question. Were the British actually fighting in India or just acting dumb? They were just acting dumb. Which is that you, Asino Shan Sahensa, you, Mughal Emperor, just give us something. The problem is that Farukhsiyar needed the money. And now, are you getting this point? There was a fiscal crisis. And that fiscal crisis leads to him to get money. It is, when you are in need of money, you sell anything and everything. Farukhsiyar sold India. So the 1717 farman is why called the Magna Carta. It is so big, so important, that it technically shakes the empire and shakes Indian subcontinent. Indian subcontinent will never be the same. And what is the dumbest move here is, can you tell me out of the five I've written here, which is the most dumb? Which is the most foolish out of all them? Yes, it is both the coins and the dastak. It is actually the coins. Imagine the government of India today says that every corporation in India, for example, Reliance can print its own money, and Reliance money is equivalent to the RBI money. This is what the implication of this is. So basically, you have created a parallel economy itself. So the 1717 Farman is considered a major setback to the freedom of India or the Indian subcontinent, because it literally gave away India to the British. Are we able to understand this point? If we are able to understand this point, give money. They give money. It's like you are literally eating the whole empire. 10,000, 3,000 is nothing. The money is nothing at all. What is the use of the dastak? Basically, the British can now transfer this right to their own officers. So East India Company now has the right to transfer it. They can mint their own money. Then the basic point is, in all their settlements, they have their own understanding. See, simple point is Farukhsiyar is in a major crisis. He has no understanding of what he's actually doing. This is the simple point you need to understand. I understand a very simple question which is coming to your mind. Why? But we Indians today literally ask this question, why? And the answer of the question is, this is called economic desperation. This is why Mughal decline set up a series of things which will totally, in a way, destroy India. Now, can I give you the 3 timelines and close the English story? Okay. Great. Now, see, there can be a question which can be asked to you in the examination, mains examination, and I'll give you that type of question. They can ask you, discuss the role of farmans and concessions in the establishment of British rule in India? Now, this is a very standard question which can come in the mains examination. There's also something which can be asked with regards to prelims, which is whose farman is what. But this is a very good and realistic question. Discuss the role of the farmans and concessions in the establishment of British rule in India. In this, which are the farmans we will be expected to be written? Now I'm giving you a very important table or a very important summary here. Please pay attention. I hope everything is making sense till this point. But if any gap is there, I'm filling it up right now. Can we agree to this? Okay. Now, very simply, concessions and farmans that allowed British to trade and establish themselves in India. First, very good, a lot of you are writing it, which means that your understanding is perfect, great. First is 1613, 1615, Jahangir Farmans. What does Jahangir Farmans do? They technically give Surat and Broach, Ahmedabad, Mauchlypatnam, Bengal, Agra access. More than that, first factory made in India, first factory not made in India but established in India. Established in India. Is there any problem? Anyone has a problem in this? 16, 13, 15. The question very simply is, discuss the role of farmans and concessions in the establishment of British rule in India. And now we are discussing what are the concessions and farmans which in turn led to this development. So 16, 13, 15, Jahangir Farman. Then 1632. 1632, Golden Farman, Golconda ruler. Tell me one thing, do you need to note this down? Do you need to note this down? No, you don't need to. For anybody who's new to class, you don't need to. Everything what I write on the PPT will be there in the, and you would have already got 2 annotated PPTs by this point of time. Everything what I write is going to be given to you once the session is over. It automatically generates the document. So you don't have to note down. 3 basic rules: concentrate in class, no running notes, just understand the basics. Don't have to learn the facts right now, simply understand the basics. So Golconda ruler allows British to trade in India, not in India, but in Golconda Deccan sector for return of 500 pagodas a year, tax free and no internal duties. This we did yesterday also. This is not a problem to anybody, right? Not a problem to anyone. Great. Then 1639. 1639 is what? Chandragiri concession. Madras is given for very small amount of rent. First fort developed in India, Fort St. George, and more than that, it allows them to make their Madras becomes Eastern headquarters. Till this point, any other story? See, why am I paying so much attention here? Because the UPSC will not ask you Portuguese, Dutch, or Danes or French. Why will they not ask you them? Why will they not ask you? Because very simply, we went into British colonialism. So they did not rule India, the British did. So you need to understand how systematically British got a hold into India. So 1613, 1615, 1632, 1639. Chandragiri ruler gives them Madras as a nominal fee. They shift their focus from Mausolepatnam to Madras, and now they have a fort in India. Can I move forward? Great. The next concession in this story is 1651. 1651. This is called Shah Shuja Uddin Farman. Trade in Bengal without paying duties for 3,000 rupiah per annum, and this was a very important concession as 80% of all trade was Bengal based. Hereafter, the next important moment is 1661, 1668. Concessions of the British Crown, which is Bombay handed over to them for £10 a year rent, and now Western Coast headquarters established. This two clear, everybody? Come on, we take a break as soon as I give you the master timeline, and then we break. Okay, great. Now, Shamil, you want to keep it 150 words? 150 words, no issues. Words don't matter here right now. What matters is the approach. Now, very simply, which is that 1661, Catherine Braganza marries Charles II. Charles II gets Bombay in the gift. The Bombay is then handed over to East India Company for £10 from the British Crown itself. Now, the next major concession would be technically 1690, 1691, which is Aurangzeb's pardoning of British aggression, and the most important, returns or reinstates the 1651 farman. 1651 farman. 1661 is the marriage and dowry Bombay to the crown, and 1668 is now Western Coast is technically under Bombay's control. In between there is conflict, but Aurangzeb again does a major problem. I'll tell you, Shine, the number of pages. I'll tell you a problem in that question. Conflict. Now. The last and most important sell-off of India is called the Farukhsiyar farman, which is Surat no taxes for 10,000 rupiah, Bengal no taxes for 3,000 rupiah. Thereafter, you have Surat, Bengal, and Hyderabad no taxes for rent paid for Madras, can issue coins equivalent to Mughal coins, and last but not the least, transfer privileges to anyone via passes or dastak. Clear, everybody? Farukhsiyar is with double Y also, with one Y also, doesn't matter. Now, very simply, do you understand what this question is expecting from you? Are you getting my point? That what is the role of farmans and concessions? Now, you asked me how many words. You make it 250, 15 marks, not an issue. And then one of you asked me a very, very simple question. How many pages for 10 marker and 15 markers? There is no 20 marker, 25 marker. How much pages for 10 marker, 15 marker, or 250 words or 150 words? The answer to that question is matters on your handwriting. Some people write very short, very small handwriting. Their 250 words will come in one page only. For some, they write big. It will come in 2 pages. Point of the matter is, as of right now, as the beginning of your journey, just writing the answer is an important process. Don't worry about the words and marks right now. Just we'll talk about mains answer writing as we go on. But the first and the most important thing is just write. 500 words, 800 words, 1000 words. What I want is, can you articulate or can you write everything what we've done here in an answer? If see, UPSC is very, very wary of how many words you write, but you can't run before you walk. So you need to walk, you need to learn to walk, which is first remove the fear of writing. And once that is done, then you will be able to easily go forward and then improve on word limit and your speed also. Shivam, he just reinstated it in a new farman. That's it. So before I give you a break, very simply, we have done a certain timeline. 1613, 1615, 1632, 1639, 1651, 1661, 1668, 1660, not 1660, but 1688, 1690, 1691, 1717. Now, if I ask you to fill in these boxes, you will be able to. I'll just do it briefly with you again, and thereafter we take a break. This is the 8th time I'm repeating this. Surat, Broch, Ahmedabad, you have Bengal, Agra, Mauslipatnam, Jahangir, Golconda, Golden Farman, and the concept of 500 pagodas. Chandragiri, Madras, Shuja Farman, 3000 rupiah. Marriage, Bombay transfer. East India Company get Bombay for 10 pounds. 1688, clash with Aurangzeb. Pardon of Aurangzeb. Reinstated 1651 Farman and Farukhsiyar Farman. Can we be more comprehensive than this? I hope everything is making sense till this point, and this constant repetition has already hammered this into your head. I want everybody's assertion. I will be doing previous year questions with you. First, cover something with me, at least 2 to 3, 4 modules. By next week, we'll be doing everything. Very simply, I hope now there should be no doubt. There should be no doubt. Right? If this wasn't enough, in the PPT, there is also this same exact timeline written in the form of a flowchart. 1600, East India Company established. 1609, William Hawkins reached Jahangir's court. 1611, the Middleton conflict with the Portuguese. 1613, Surat is established. 1615, next privilege is given. 1618, they are able to get a farman in which now somebody can sit in the court of Jahangir. They also are now trying to push for exemptions in Indian tolls. 1616, the basic point of the matter is they are already established. You can come here, which is they are now in Mauchlypatnam. 1632, Golden Farman. Thereafter, 1632, Golden Farman. 1633, they are able to establish in Orissa also. 1639, they get Madras. 1651, they get Bengal for 3000 concept. 1661, the transfer of Bombay from Catherine Braganza to Charles II. 1667, Aurangzeb gives the Farman a little bit of a go-ahead and starts to become a little bit of wary about the basic problems which are happening between the British and the Mughals. 1691, he gives them back the privilege. 1617, the Farukhsiyar Farman itself. And now I hope the basic story is clear and we can come back and talk about the dates. Done? So, is this way of teaching working? This is the third class. I can always change it. Is this working? Can we go ahead like this? Okay, great. So let's take a break. See, as I said, I will do multiple revisions with you in class and make sure that you don't have to even look at the PPT when you end this session, so that you can just do what it's done. Okay, so it is 6:50. It's what do you expect to do? 3 to 4 questions will also come to you in subjective possible, and we go to between. Back, everybody is rejuvenated, no issues. Welcome, member. You would have what we call as, you can say, the subscription or the Shuja Farman is given again now under Farukhsiyar's name. Okay. 80% of all trade was taken out. The British are exporting from India 80%. So all trade which is happening from the Bengal ports. Okay. Screen isn't visible. Refresh your screen. It should not be a problem. Now, Danes come first, then the French. I told you this yesterday, if you remember, very categorically. In the story of who came first, we technically take it vis-a-vis. The Portuguese were the first to establish a colony in India, then the Dutch, then the English, then the Danes, and then the French. Right? Did we discuss this yesterday? Pritham, just refresh. Yes, we did. Okay. Now, see, the Danish, very small country Denmark, they were not interested in trade. But rather they were extremely interested in spreading Christianity. There are two Prithams. One is P-R-E-E-T-M, one is P-R-I-T-M, two Prithams. So Danish means the Dutch, and the Dutch were extremely concerned about missionary activities. They were here to spread the message of the Bible, and that is why, though they were there in a lot of sectors, for example, they will again start at a place called the Tranquebar. I'll show it to you. See, they start from here. Then they get Mauchlypatnam also. They get Andaman and Nicobar Islands also. They get Balasore sector, Serampore, and they get Kochachel, Calicut. But the basic point is that this is all based on very limited trade. So if it is limited trade, can they challenge the British? Yes or no? Can they challenge the British? No. So in this story, they are extremely insignificant. Their East India Company formed in 1616. They come to India in 1616. Very minor power. Established trade posts in Tranquebar, first factory, 1620. That is why they are before the French, because French is quite late in 1660s. Serampore, which was the headquarters. Calicut and Nicobar Islands. Same point of time, the Swedish and the Danish East India Company were importing a lot of tea from India. But the basic point of the matter is, once the British will become extremely interested, there was no way they were going to technically have any form of control. And by 1845, the Danes sold all of their colonies to the English and went back. And their main focus is missionary work. Trading outpost means a small factory. Some factors, which are the people who are working in that factory. Basically, the Danes are extremely insignificant in the story, though in the sequence of colonial powers, they are fourth. Come with missionary impulse, but don't do anything else. Can we talk about the French now? Danes, not important. Even mentioning them is giving them too much respect, which they technically don't even deserve. That is the basic point. But unfortunately, we have to do that. They had no chance to defeat the British, and they were not in any position to even trade vis-a-vis the English. Will sell off everything. Their basic concept was spread the message of the Bible, spread Christianity. As I said, they were establishing small factories, very small outposts, but no fortifications, nothing at all. Can I move forward? Everybody, come on. Yes. What is the main key of role of Danish? Nothing. Backstory. Background dancers. They are the background actors. Just fill up the story itself. Okay. Now, the last power which came to India are the French. Now, when you will do world history with me, you will get to know that the French are not very smart people, are not very smart people, and they I can give that Yashovarman, don't worry. They technically are always late to things. And here also, they wake up from their slumber, their sleep. Okay, there's something called India. We should also consider it. And then the French finally decide to form an East India Company. However, the French East India Company is a public or government funded company. Now what this means, what this line means is that when the French will go into a conflict with the English in India, which will do on Monday, their company is government funded. They will be very, very proactive or lethargic, or very aggressive or very, very slow to react. They will be slow and lethargic. And this is the major difference between the English and the French in India, as I will tell you, that government funded company of the French technically was not able to compete with the British in India. They will try to compete. By 1660s, the English will get a competition in the form of the French. But the French never knew how to undercut the British and did not have the policy of appeasement. But one of their most celebrated governors in India is a person called Dupleix. I will give you the list of their governors, but I will ask you to only hold on to that information. I'll ask you to hold on to this information for a very simple reason, because I'm going to use that information on Monday. On Monday, we will leave this module with your understanding of the French, but we will come back to this story on Monday. Very simply, French 1664, they will form their what is called Champagne des Indes Orientales, or nothing but the French East India Company. Louis XIV will establish it, and nobody was ready to fund the French East India Company. So it was a company which was created, financed and controlled by the state. A major difference between the company of the English and the French. It was counterproductive because company was organized by the government. There was no private capitalist or no private individual who actually added to the story. And more than that, the French finance minister Colbert pleaded big dignitaries to somehow add some money into the company. And that in turn meant that nobody had no orientation or any form of impulse to do anything. They were attracted to India because of the growing market and the potentials of India. But by the time 1664, they wake up. By 1664, when they wake up, British control only the West Coast, only the East Coast, or both? Yashika, that was a government company, Danes also. Both. Basically, by the time French come to India, Surat, Broach, Mauslipatnam, Bengal, Chandragiri, Madras, Golconda, and Bombay, by this point of time, was also with them. So the basic point is the French were very late to the scene, were extremely late to the scene, and they had no real understanding of what they were actually doing. So they will first establish their factory again in 1668 in Surat under a person called Francois Caron. When did the British establish their colony in Surat, or their settlement or factory in Surat? 1613. You're very good with dates. Perfect. I don't know who taught you this, but it's working. The basic point of the matter is 1613 is the period by which the British have actually controlled the Surat sector. They are 60 years late. They are 60 years late. Close to 60 years. Which is not a joke. 50 years, you take 40-45 years to reach the same place. So that is the basic point. If that is going to be the case, it's not a what we call as a simplification or a coincidence that the British were already too powerful. 1669, they will reach Mauchlypatnam. But their most important settlement was Pondicherry. 1674. By 1674, Aurangzeb was now realized, and they are still not fully established because their first proper governor will be established in the form of Francois Martin. This is the first governor. So first governor is 1674. So Pondicherry, I will talk to you about how does it come to power. They technically get it properly by 1693 because the Dutch were able to capture Pondicherry also. And they gave it back in 1697. And the most important colony of the French in Bengal is Chandranagar or Chandranagar. Basic point is, the names are not important. I'll tell you what is important. Don't worry about that. I have a flow chart for that. Understand one thing. Their expansion is between 1668 to 1697. 1697. And this is the period in which the British had already gobbled up, digested, and again they were ready to eat India. That is the level of difference between the English and the French. Because there's a question which I will discuss with you on Monday. Why did the British succeed in defeating the French? And the answer is the French were literally sleeping. Literally sleeping. And the basic point of the matter is that the British had too much power even before the French turned up. Now, the important aspect related to your preparation is how did they get Pondicherry? And as I said, they got Pondicherry by technically seeking the attendance or seeking what is called the governor of Valikondapuram, which is technically under the Bijapur Sultan, and it was the Sher Khan Lodi. He gave Francois Martin Pondicherry, and basically Pondicherry will be formed finally in 1674. Remember this because between 1674 and 1961-62, Pondicherry will remain a colony of the French throughout India. So Goa and Pondicherry will be the two spots at which the Portuguese and the French will survive. As I said, Caro will become more or less useless to them, and Francois Martin will become the first governor of the French. Who was the first governor of the Portuguese? Governor means that he's just the person who governs that area. Almeida. Perfect. Great. Pat your back with no revision, nothing. Basic understanding. You remember these facts. Great. Perfect. So, very simply, Sher Khan Lodi gives it to Francois Martin. Therefore, Martin is made into a governor. But as I said, the French will establish their control throughout this coast at Mahe, at Kalikar, at Balasore, at Kasim Bazar. But in between this period, they will lose it to the Dutch also, and Dutch will then give them back in exchange of other colonies. The basic point is the French stronghold in India was only Pondicherry and nowhere else. And Pondicherry would mean that they were very close to Madras, very close to Chennai. So they were technically facing each other in that sense, the British and the French. Now, because of this lethargic nature of the East India Company of the French, they even reorganized it in 1720 to make it much more powerful. But all this discussion which is here is technically irrelevant for you, but I'll still give you basics. I'll tell you why. What matters in the story is, I'll tell you. First, Vice Governor, Lenoir and Dumas. Thereafter, they were able to capture Mahe, Yanam, Karikal and Mauritius. But the most celebrated and the most important is this person called Lord Dupleix. And for the purpose of the examination, just need to learn this. Learn this. Can you learn this? I'll give you a trick also. These are the governors of the French in India: Martin, Lenoir, Dumas, Dupleix, Delally. And you have to very specifically remember these two names. Because the French I will discuss in what is called Anglo-French rivalry, Carnatic Wars, in much more detail. But I want you to remember two names. Though we can remember it like this: Male, Dum, Dup, Lal. Male, Dum, Dup, Lal. See, Pritam, very simply, everybody, I don't want you to get caught up here. What I want from you is, first point you need to remember is, Pondicherry is stronghold. Is that point clear? Yes or no? Yes. They get it via Sher Khan Lodi. Second point. Third point, they are extremely late. Are these 3 points clear? Pritam? If these 3 points are clear, I'm only asking you to learn these two names, Dupleix and Delally. And I will show you how I will use it in the later stages. French never established themselves properly in India. You have seen I've put in a lot of effort for the English. That is because that is our story of subjugation. These rules are nothing but these other European powers are just fillers. Why Dupleix and Delally? Because first Carnatic War, second Carnatic War, third Carnatic War, Dupleix and Delally will fight. So I will tell you, the agenda of the French to come to India is to rival and outsmart the English. They wanted to remove the English from the scene. How the Portuguese were defeated by the Dutch, how the Dutch were defeated by the English. The French wanted to do the miracle of removing the English from India. Can we agree to this much? And I promise you, trust me, I'll be back with this story on Monday, because Carnatic Wars we need to do. Right? Great. Now, these two maps are just to summarize all the settlements which were there in India. These 3 maps rather. So, if you add the Portuguese, the Dutch, the British, the French and the Danish, the whole of India, both coasts, were dotted with Portuguese settlements, from Diu to Daman to Surat to Basin to Bombay to Chaul to Goa to Mahe to Calicut to Tranquebar to Kochi to Jaffna to Nagapatnam to Pondicherry to Madras to Pulicat to Mauslipatnam to Visakhapatnam to Chandranagar to Serampore and to Calcutta. Very simply, the basic point of the matter is there is a concentration of the European powers in our very simply two big coasts, and they have created a whole network of interaction. Though there, that is not the misspelling. Moghul is written like this also. Moghul. This was the original spelling, what the British used to write. We call it Mughal. They used to say Moghul. Moghul is a play on the word Mongol. The British could not pronounce Mongol, so they said Moghul. That is the way. Now, and Moghul. This is their Moghul. This is the misspelling. I'm telling you, Moghul, Mughal. We'll talk about this. Now, before I move on to the concept of regional kingdoms and the third module, I want you to understand something very clearly. I told you in the first class, I was making a movie. Yes or no? Was I making a movie? What was the title of that movie? The title of the movie is The Advent of Europeans and the Establishment of the British Presence in India. So I had to set the scene. First scene was the crying weak successors of the Mughals and how they had destroyed their own empire. And now I've set the second scene, which is the advent of Europeans. Now, when I say that in 1750, there are the Europeans in India. You understand what I mean by that? Right? So, very simply, the 18th century is a period of major change in the Indian subcontinent, and therefore the Indian subcontinent had a whole mixture of powers: Dutch, French, the English, the Danes, the declining Mughal power. And now I need to talk about expansion. What does expansion mean? Expansion has 5-6 very important but very descriptive things, which is Anglo-Maratha, Carnatic Wars, Anglo-Mysore Wars, Anglo-Sikh Wars. And these need to be studied closely because questions can come in both mains. Anglo means English. Anglo. We need to study it. But the problem is that my actors are not ready. What I'm trying to tell you here is the purpose of this discussion. My actors are not ready. Carnatic sector, I'll tell you, is Hyderabad, is the Eastern Ghats. I'll tell you that. Very simply, Battle of Plassey, there's a person called Sirajuddaula. But as of right now, you don't know who is Sirajuddaula. Right? You don't know who is Sirajuddaula. When I say Sujauddaulah, nothing rings a bell. When I say Murshid Quli Khan, nothing. When I say Dost Ali, makes no sense. When I see these words, there is no concept itself. So what I am going to now do is very simply, I will talk about the states, political structures, which came out of the Mughal rule or Mughal empire, and they become our theaters or actors in the story called British expansion. So the discussion I am going to now have with you is basically what are called the successor states. Basically, when the Mughal empire is weak, it starts to break. And when it breaks into Bengal, Awadh, the sector of Carnatic, Mysore, the Marathas, the Jats. India starts to break now. And within each of these states, there is one actor, one personality who will play a very key role in fighting the British. So, do you now understand, or do you now get the purpose of the discussion I'm going to have with you? When Delhi becomes weak, the whole India starts to get disintegrated. I need everybody's assertion. Yes or no? Okay. I have given you 4 to 5 timelines in advent of Europeans. Portuguese and the English given a lot of emphasis. Revise it. Shalu, as I said, revise it. The summary is nothing but the timelines. The summary of the story is that there is a whole plethora of European states in India. European outpost, trading post, whatever you want to call it. And now you will see how the British will play a game called capture or conquer India. Right? Okay. Our concept is clear. Our purpose is clear. We understand why we are doing this also. Right? Done? Okay. Perfect. Now, in order to understand what we have to do now, you need to understand 3 terms. 3 terms, and they are technically linked to Mughal administration. They are technically linked to Mughal administration. And very simply, I'll be using these terms, so you need to understand what it means. First, in Mughal India, a province, for example, a state is called a Suba. It's called a Suba. For example, the state of Maharashtra, the state of MP is one province. So they call it a Suba. And the person who is in charge of the Suba, literally the governor, is called Subedar. It's called Subedar. Very easy. Suba, Subedar. So the governor of a province is called Subedar. Any issue in this term? Anyone? Come on. The way the whole empire is divided, English empire, the British empire, the Mughal empire is divided is into Subas. So Subedar, division into different aspects. So HR1, understand one thing. Province is called Suba. Governor of that province is Subedar. Subedar. He has both military and general administrative power. He is the chief minister or the governor, if you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. Very simply, the word Subedar, when I use now, you understand the connotation of that. You understand it? You understand. Perfect. Okay. Now, the next 2 terms are how the Mughals used to divide the power under the Subedar. Under the Subedar, there used to be 2 offices. Under the Subedar, there used to be 2 offices. One is called Nazim and the other one is called Diwan. These are 2 offices or officers. Now, very clearly, I have not misspelled Nizam. I have written Nazim because Nizam is a title, ruler. Sultan, Nizam, same thing. But Nazim is a officer. Nazim is a officer. So Subedar, Nazim and Diwan. Now, what is the difference? The difference is that Nazim takes care of the general day-to-day administration, and the Diwan takes care of general day-to-day revenue administration. I'll give you a very simple example. When you will become an IAS officer, you can be posted in two positions. Either you can be made into district magistrate, or you can be made into a district collector. District collector is the head of the revenue department. Basically, whatever money is coming into the province, he manages that. And then district magistrate takes care of policing, law and order, general day-to-day administrative setup. What is the advantage of this system? You logic, why would we Mughals divide the power of the Nazim and Diwan? Basically, it avoids concentration of power in one hand. If I had both the revenue and the power to do general administration, I will become too powerful. So, in order to avoid concentration of power, meaning one person will become extremely powerful, you divide the power itself, and mostly these are two different people. Subedar controls one man here, and basically Subedar has two officers under him to make sure that nobody can have too much power. And that is why I will tell you that after the Battle of Lancaster, the English get the Diwani rights. The word Diwani comes from Diwan. Diwani right means right to collect taxes. So Diwani. So very simply, you understand the word Subedar and you understand the word Nazim and Diwan. Meaning there is a separation of power, and if there is a separation of power, it is to make sure that there is no concentration of power in one hand. So don't bring these two words into this story. Separate these two words altogether. Can I assume that when I use the term Nazim and Diwan, you will understand the difference between Nizam and Nazim is very simple. Nazim is an officer and Nizam is a title of king. That is it. District magistrate, district collector, you know, in India, IAS officer become, as I said, have two different powers. Same in the government of India also does the same thing. Not give one officer both revenue department and general department. I can give you one simple example. IAS and IRS, Indian Administrative Service, Indian Revenue Service. Now does it make sense? Can I move forward? Okay. Both are under Subedar. Are they division of Subedar or they are under Subedar? They are under the Subedar. They report to the Subedar. Everybody, can I move forward? Who is more powerful? DC and equally powerful. Equally powerful. Can I move forward? I need your yes, no, thumbs up, smiley, something. Okay. Now the stage is set. You understand these 2 words, 3 words. Now I can explain to you what is going to happen. See, I have a map. But I go to the map second. I want to first create an image in your mind. Governor said is basically for governance. There is no modern concept of governor. Governor is who governs. That is it. Now, let us assume that this is Mughal India. And within Mughal India, there are a lot of different areas, very important. So, for example, there is one place called Awadh, very important. Then there is one of the most important, Bengal. Thereafter, in the Deccan sector, you have the Hyderabad sector. Then you have go a little bit down. You have Mysore. Then there is the coastal area called the Carnatic. And there is also what Akbar is known for, the Rajput areas. Awadh technically controls the Ganga Yamuna plains, very important. Now, simply, if I add Awadh, Rajput states, Hyderabad, Mysore, Karnataka, Bengal, I get what? These are the constituent units of what? Of Mughal India. Very good. But there are also areas which the Mughals don't control. The Mughals don't control. For example, in the Maharashtra sector, they don't control the mighty states. The Marathas, they don't control the Maratha territory. They, in North India, don't control the Jats. In the Punjab sector, you have the Sikhs, a little bit upper to that small area called Rohillas. And basically, what Mughal India really is the area it controls, and the other areas which are not under control. These are states which the Mughals were never able to capture properly. You see, if I look on a map, you have the Awadh sector, the Bengal sector, the Rajput sector, the Hyderabad sector, Karnataka, Mysore, Travancore. But You have areas which the Mughals never even controlled properly. The Marathas, the Jats, the Amritsar sector, the Rohillas. Now, is their basic location making sense? Basic location making sense. I'm coming to what is successor and what is rebel. Now, tell me one thing. If Mughal equals to Awadh plus Bengal plus Carnatic plus Mysore plus you have the Awadh, Bengal, Carnatic, Mysore, Rajputs, and if the Mughal control will decline, what is going to happen to these states? Hyderabad, add Hyderabad, no issues. Hyderabad. What is going to happen? Northern Sirkaz is just a place. That's a mountain range which is there. What is going to happen? They will disintegrate and become free. They become free and disintegrate. Now, in history, in 18th century, the Mughal Empire split up into two parts. Disintegrate means to destroy, breaks up. One is called successor states and the other one are called rebel states. What do I mean by that? In 18th century, Mughal India split up into two successor states and rebel states. You can now already hint what I am coming to, which is that independent political units or states which came out of Mughal control and became free are called successor states. And rebel states are states which never were under Mughal control, but now they are independent states with no Mughals around them. No Mughals around them. They're both not the same. The difference between successor state and rebel state is they were part of the Mughals previously. They were never the part of Mughals. Never the part of Mughals. Very simply, successor states are succeeding the Mughal Empire. They together constituted the Mughal Empire. They break away. And rebel states are states which were surrounded by Mughal territory, but are now not surrounded by Mughal territory, but very weak, independent successor states. I'll give a very simple example of this again. For example, there's a Tata company, but Tata company is not one company. It has Tata Motors, it has Vistara, it has TCS, it has for example Tata Steel. Now if I add Tata Motors plus Vistara plus TCS plus Tata Steel, what do I get? Air India, whatever be the case, what do you get? If I add all of these, you get the Tata company, and then there is, for example, there is Asian Paints. You have what? Honda, Hyundai. These are they part of the Tata company? No, but they coexist with Tata company. Now what happens is that the Tata company becomes extremely weak. So Tata Motors becomes a separate company, Vistara becomes a separate company, TCS becomes a separate company, Tata Steel becomes a separate company. But for these three, now Tata does not exist. What exists are these successor companies. So in a way, this is Mughals and these are Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad and Rajput states. And these are nothing but the Maratha, Sikhs and the Jats. Are you now able to understand the difference between a rebel state which always fought with the Mughals, and very simply the way the Tata company existed as a conglomeration, or when you add these three companies, you get the Tata company. But now the Tata company doesn't exist, is too weak, so they break away from the main company. This is what this is. Is the word successor state and rebel state clear in everybody's mind? No iota, no percentage of doubt should be there. Then who rules the successor state? This is what I have to tell you now. This is what I need to tell you. Very simply, again, Shalu, don't bring Akbar and don't bring Akbar. That's a medieval discussion. The basic point of the matter is India, once the Mughal Empire became very, very weak, split up into two parts. Awadh, Bengal, Carnatic, Mysore, Hyderabad, Rajput states. These are called together the successor states because they came out of the Mughal Empire. And these are the states which previously were fighting the Mughals, but now there is no Mughal to fight. And basically, they are now fully independent states, ready to be under or ready to conquer what is left of the Mughal Empire. Are you getting my point? Awadh, Bengal, Hyderabad, Mysore, Rajput states, Carnatic states are called successor states. And rebel states, Jats, Marathas, Rohillas and the Punjabi sector, or what we call the Sikhs. Whatever you see in pink was always fighting with black, but ironically now black is not one unit. Pink are the companies which existed separate from the Tata company. Black is the Tata company breaking up. There, Simarpreet, Aurangzeb was there in Punjab. But did the Sikhs ever, you tell me, did the Sikhs, did the Marathas, did the Jats ever submit to the Mughal authority? You tell me. Delhi is the only area which the Mughal emperor controls. Did they ever submit to the Mughal authority? Yes or no? No, never, never. They constantly fought with the Mughals to remain independent. That is why they are called rebel states. They were rebelling, and now finally they have destroyed the empire which was trying to destroy them. And the successor states are nothing but that constituent jigsaw puzzle which has now scattered. So basically, these states accepted or were part of the Mughals. They never allowed the Mughals to rule them. It's literally in the name successor rebel. Can I move forward? You understand the basic point of successor state and rebel state. I want everybody's consent, then we talk about the successor states. Yes? Okay, perfect. Now, successor states ruled on the name of Mughal emperor. Yes, Anuj will talk about that. Meaning of successor, the states which come out of Mughal empire. Say rebel states, never part of the Mughal empire. What we will discuss Marathas versus Mughals in medieval India. Not here. Not here. Now, what I'm going to discuss with you here are these: Awadh, Bengal, Hyderabad, Mysore, Rajput, Carnatic, Marathas and the Sikhs. I will discuss with you on Monday when I'll do Anglo-Maratha wars, because what is the concept of Peshwa? I need a little bit of continuity there. So the Marathas and the Sikhs I will do separately. Right now I am going to talk about Awadh, Bengal, Hyderabad, Mysore, Carnatic and Rajput states. Can I do that? Again, Anuj, you are mixing up the timeline. These rebel states were not emerging during Akbar's period. They come after later. So we are counting them from that point forward. And you are going two back. You have to start from Jahangir Shah Jahan period. Again, I am saying successor state is nothing but a state which comes out of the Mughal empire. They are the constituent unit of the Mughal empire. I'll give you another example. After this, it should not be a problem. Last time I'm telling you, if India is there and India breaks up, so MP, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, what will be they called? They will be called what? They'll be called independent successor states. They were part of India, they have come out of India. Same way, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, what will they be called? They will be called independent rebel states, which is they were never part of India and now they exist as independent political units. Now is this clear? What is the after the death of Aurangzeb, India will split up into successor states and the concept of rebel states. When will they come into existence? Let me tell you the story. I need to tell you the story. Can I discuss the story itself? I'm just discussing the word with you. I hope the word is clear. Word is clear, right? Okay. Aurangzeb's weak successors will destroy the empire itself. Very good. Now, what was the purpose of this discussion? What will be the purpose of this discussion? What I'm having with you right now? It is to understand the actors of our movie. It is to know the ruler's name. Very good. Perfect. Now, the English one by one technically use these rulers to expand in India. So let's talk about first one of the most important, Bengal. Let's talk about Bengal. Bengal, a very prosperous, very important part of the Mughal Empire. And the proximity of Mughal Empire from Delhi, Bengal is far away. So till Aurangzeb is alive, Bengal is not very autonomous or powerful. It is always under a leash. It's under the control of the Mughals. But as soon as, and I'll give you the timeline, please understand what you need to remember for the examination. As soon as the Mughal authority starts to fade, there is one man who was first made the Diwan, then the Nazim, and then he combined both offices in him, and his name is Murshid Quli Khan. Murshid Quli Khan was appointed as the Diwan of Bengal. Then, very impressed, he was made the Nazim of the Bengal. But then as soon as he saw that the British authority is, the Mughal authority is weak, he combined both into him. If he combines both into him, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? He is going to concentrate power under him. So the virtual freedom of the Bengal sector starts under Murshid Quli Khan. But Murshid Quli Khan was smart. He remained independent, but he used to give the Mughals the illusion that he was still under them. So he used to send some form of money to the Mughals as a form of show of loyalty, but he was technically fully independent. And in Bengal, bankers and merchants play a very important role in who will become, along with the landlords, about who will become the king. Who will become the king? So Murshid Quli Khan was smart. He very simply showed the Mughals that we are still under you, but the proximity is so away, and Muhammad Shah Rangila does not have the time to come and check. He's already battling so many things, and he virtually starts to carve out his own space. So if somebody asks you who is the founder of the Bengal state, the answer is Saifuddin, that is a Mughal weak successor. The answer is Murshid Quli Khan. Very good. Now we have been talking about this person quite a lot, and some of you called him the son of Shah Jahan, but Murshid Quli Khan is succeeded by Shalu, the Subedar of Bengal. Murshid Quli Khan is able to subdue. He is able to subdue, and he is able to remove that person via intimidation, via war. So he, in a way, combines all three positions in him. Murshid Quli Khan is a person who combines all three positions in him. Diwan, Nazim, Subedar. He takes everything. Now, his successor was going to be a person called Sarfaraz Khan. But before Sarfaraz Khan could come to power, his own father will technically take power, and we know him as Sujauddin. Sujauddin. Where did we do Sujauddin? Where have we seen his name? Where have we seen his name? This person's name, Sujauddin. Where have we seen this name? Perfect. 1651, farman is given by this guy. Same guy, Sujauddin. Now, Sujauddin simply follows what his father does, simply follows what technically his grandfather does, but doesn't matter. Simply follows what Quli Khan is doing, which is give the illusion to the British, to the Mughal emperor that we are not under you, we are under you rather, but carve out your own space. Carve out your own space. Now, before his son Sarfaraz Khan could capture power, Sarfaraz Khan was killed by a person called Ali Vardi Khan. Now, please, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing. Do not remember relationships, which is relationship, father, son, mother, don't. You will go mad. A very important tip for you is who is the grandfather, the grandmother? I don't care. You shouldn't also. Very simply, Murshid Quli Khan is succeeded by Sujauddin. Sujauddin is succeeded by Ali Vardi Khan. These are three individuals who are related to each other, but we don't have to make it into a CSAT examination. That the father of the mother of the person you see in the picture is the mother of the father of my son. Don't have to do that. Don't do that, because it will create such a chain in your mind that it will technically distort the information. Murshid Quli Khan is the founder. He is succeeded by Sujauddin and then by Ali Vardi Khan. Can we agree to this much? Who is the father, mother, grandfather? Who, does not matter. Does not matter. There is already too much information we need to learn. I don't care who is the father, mother. I can tell you that, but I don't want to, because it will only distort the story itself. It will distort the story. Because if it was not enough that you need to learn dates, why should I learn who's the father, son, grandfather of anybody? So, will you be smart with me in not really caring about it? Because for us, UPSC will not say who is the grandfather of this person. UPSC has too many questions to ask you. You don't need to really care because UPSC doesn't care. So can we be smart here? Everybody, I need your consent here. You want that information? It is there in the PPT. But I don't want you to get caught up in that. This is a major mistake a lot of students do. When they make notes, they will write son, grandfather, father, Please, please don't do it, because you will confuse yourself. You will confuse yourself. So Bengal, you have Murshid Quli Khan, then comes Sujauddin, and then comes Ali Vardi Khan. These two have a very standard policy. These two have a very, very standard policy that simply we will show to the Mughals that we still are under you. But now Ali Vardi Khan says, why should I give money to the Mughals? So whilst these two used to send some money to Delhi or Mughals, Ali Vardi Khan stops the concept of sending money. So very simply, see, Sujauddin, again, Aryan, the time period is 1727. But Sujauddin was given a position of governor by the Mughals. These are all people who already exist in this area. They are just capturing power. Are you getting my point, Aryan? There's a timeline here. You don't have to distort the two together. Very simply, they are already there. They're just capturing powers. They are just capturing powers. So Ali Vardi Khan literally stops sending money, and he develops a very important relationship. very important relationship with two very important bankers. Can you tell me the name of the bankers who technically sold off India? Very good. Jagat Seth and Amir or Omi Chand. These two are the kingmakers in Bengal. Kingmakers. They said that why are you sending money to the Mughals? Don't become free. Become free. But see, this is not an optional discussion. For the purpose of the examination, it is the successor of Ali Vardi Khan who is very, very important. And his name is Siraj Ud Dawla. Sirajuddaulah. Now, our first hero or actor is casted, which is Sirajuddaulah. Sirajuddaulah is the successor of Ali Vardi Khan, who is going to fight the Battle of Plassey. The Plassey person is Sirajuddaulah. Now, do you get where does Sirajuddaulah come from? Where does Sirajuddaulah come from? I told you in the beginning, you don't have any reference to who is Sirajuddaulah, but now do you know who is Sirajuddaulah? Sirajuddaulah is nothing but the successor of Ali Vardi Khan. See, I'll read it out to you. It will make sense. Murshid Quli Khan was the Diwan of Bengal under Aurangzeb and was made governor of Bengal under Farukhsiyar. His appointment as Subedar of Bengal in 1717 strengthened his position immensely by giving him both the province and the powers of Diwan, Nazim and the Subedari. Now you get, Shalu, what was I saying? His most important concept was to shift the capital from Bengal, what we call as the Eastern Bengal sector, Western Bengal sector, to a place which still exists, which is called Murshidabad. So as soon as he becomes independent, he makes his own capital and now is going to rule the Bengal sector. Now, he abolished the system of having the Nazim and the Diwan and combined both in him. And by this, he strengthened his position as the Subedar or the governor of the province. Sarfaraz Khan was nominated by Murshid Quli Khan as his successor, which is his grandson, but his father will technically not allow his son to come to. So the basic point is Murshid Quli Khan has nominated his grandson as the successor, but then his son takes power. But I said doesn't really matter, but I'm giving you that information. Now Murshid Quli Khan will develop a system of administration in which he will start to build relationships in the banking and the landlord sector. Pritam, wait, I'll come to it. Don't worry. Why will grandson Murshid Quli Khan had? The motive of that is not certain, but he's done it. We don't care as UPSC aspirants why he did it. He was a bad father. Whatever may be the case, the basic point of the matter is before Murshid Quli Khan, Bengal is a province of the Mughals. Now it is becoming an independent province. Now, before Sarfaraz Khan could come to power, a person called Ali Vardi Khan will kill the son of Sujauddin, and now backed by bankers and zamindars come to power. Ali Vardi Khan will make Bengal virtually independent by stopping the money transfer to the Mughals, and it is his successor and the grandson of Ali Vardi Khan, Sirajuddaulah, who will become the Nawab of Bengal. Very simply, Preetham, everybody, please understand this. Why father, not son? That is why I told you they are all confused. They're all confused who is their father, son, mother, and that is the basic problem here. We don't need to understand this. See, the basic point is very simple. Basic point is very simple. Bengal, can you remember this much for the examination? That Murshid Quli Khan is the one who founded or made Bengal independent, and the actor at the time of Palasi is a person called Siraj Ud Daula. Nobody is asking you the story of Bengal. That is my prerogative to tell you that. But can you remember the basic point? Bengal is ruled by Siraju Daula. Can you do that? Come on. You can? You can. So very simply, I'll again repeat the story. He becomes the Diwan, then he becomes the Nazim, then he takes the power of the Subedariship, dissolves all power and becomes important. The story here is very simple. Quli Sujauddin Alivardi Siraj Ud Daula. Siraj Ud Daula. Simple point is, if I'm going to say Plassey was fought with Siraj Ud Daula, it will make sense to you, right? What happened to Alivardi Khan? He died. Again, Arshia, as I said, Sujauddin, before becoming the king, was already a part of the Bengal administration as the important person who gave that farman. I'll come to Battle of Plassey, the turning point of Indian history, when the British will technically start to take territorial power, which we'll talk about. Bengal story. See, I want to say one thing. As much as these are our actors of the story, don't get attached to them. I have to clear the UPSC examination. For the purpose of that thing, I just need to know Murshid Quli Khan and then Siraj Ud Daula. Can we do that? I'm giving you the story. But if you don't have to remember everything I say. What I'm telling you here is very simply, Siraj Ud Daula was the successor of Alivardi Khan. Murshid Quli Khan made the Bengal sector independent. Can we agree to these 2 points? Bengal story is Quli Khan capturing power by becoming Subedar, dissolving all the other positions. He will then start to do an illusionary dance of that I am sending some tribute to the Mughals. He and his successor will do it. Alivardi Khan will make everybody virtually independent, but he will now make Jagat Seth and Omi Chand very important. And his successor is Siraj Ud Daula. I'll talk about Siraj Ud Daula again when I'll talk about Plassey. But as of right now, can we agree that Bengal, there is a person called Siraj Ud Daula? You are forgetting the purpose of this discussion. The purpose of this discussion is only to cast the actors. Once the actors are cast, our work is done. So Bengal, Siraj Ud Daula is coming to power. You should not and you don't need to know what happened to Alivardi Khan, what happened to Sujauddin, what happened to Quli Khan. You just need to know Siraj Ud Daula is the one who's a very important actor in Bengal. Can we agree to this much? Plassey I will do on Monday. Yes or no? Yes? Very good. Now let's go a little bit south to Hyderabad. Hyderabad, a very simple story, Here there was a person who was made the Subedar and his name is Chin Kilich Khan. His name is Chin Khilij Khan and Chin Khilij Khan was able to see that the Mughals are becoming weak. I'll give you the timeline also, but not right now. I want you to understand the names first. So Chin Khilij Khan is the one who is made the Subedar. He can see Mughal authority is fading. And when Mughal authority starts to fade, when they send his successor, his replacement, he takes a knife and kills the successor and says, I am the ruler of Hyderabad now, and he will take a title which is very important for you because that is the only thing you need to remember. Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. Very ominous name. Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. The basic point of the matter is, very simple point is, Chin Khilij Khan was the first appointed Subedar, of Hyderabad by the Mughal emperor in 1713. Once his rival and successor will be sent, he will kill that person. He will remove all Mughal officers from his area. And now that he's done that, he will just take a title called Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah and become an independent leader. Simple. So in our story, who is in Hyderabad? Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. So when I say Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah Hyderabad, you know who he is now. Chin Khilij Khan is the only. I changed my name. I became from Abhishek Mishra to Abhishek Bachchan. Though I don't need to, and there's no point. But I change the name. That's it. I changed the name. Chin Khilij Khan said that I don't like my name. Khilij Khan does not go well with the ruler. So rather, I'll call myself Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. सुनने में अच्छा लग रहा है? Sounds better, right? Chin Khilij Khan, Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. Which is better? Chin Khilij Khan or Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah? What gives you sense of power? Nizam ul Mulk. So this is rulers doing what they want to do. So Sirajuddaulah has emerged in Bengal, and Hyderabad has now become an independent state because he kills his successor, removes all the Mughals and appoints his own people. Done? Everybody? Nizam ul Mulk Abhishek Bachchan. Don't do that. Preetham, I'll talk to you after the class. You stay back, huh? Chin Khilij Khan. Who are you? Chin Khilij Khan. Who are you? Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. Called Chin Khilij Khan, right? Okay. So Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah is something that gives a sense of power, and it says here also. See, what does it say? Hyderabad removes everybody, later assumes the title of Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. Done. And I move to Awadh. That is the last discussion I have with you today. Okay, very good. Now, when we talk about Awadh, Awadh is a very important state for us because it was involved in the Battle of Buxar. In Awadh, what happens is that there's a person called Saadat Khan. Saadat Khan was made the Subedar of, you can see, all of them start where? You tell me. All of them start as what? They all start as Subedars. or Diwans or Nizams or Nazims. These are officers capturing power. Capturing power. So Saadat Khan is the Subedar. Saadat Khan is known for, I'll talk about that, Mohan, don't worry. What Saadat Khan is known for is that he helped Muhammad Shah Rangila, Muhammad Shah, Baja Farmu, Mu, Muhammad Shah Rangila to come to power. To come to power, and that is why Muhammad Shah Rangila said, you be Rangila in your own area. So, as soon as Saadat Khan helps him come to power, he becomes virtually independent because Muhammad Shah Rangila does not intervene too much in Saadat Khan. Now, Saadat Khan is succeeded by, for our story, a person called Safdar Jung. If you live in Delhi, you would know that there is something called the Safdarjung tomb or the Safdarjung station. He is the same person, Safdarjung. Now, again not important for my story, Safdarjung too minor a power, but the most important personality is his successor, Safdarjung Hospital also, Suja-ud-Dawla. Now I want to make very clear. Very clear. There is one Siraj-ud-Dawla, there's a Sujauddin, and there's a Suja-ud-Dawla. So understand this. See, Saadat Khan was the governor of Awadh in 1722, helped in overthrowing the Sayyid brothers. He was able to help Muhammad Shah Rangila in coming to power. That is why he was also called Saadat Khan Baranhul Mulk, because he was given that title. He was able to consolidate his power. His son-in-law was Safdarjung, who was nominated to the throne. And now Safdarjung is the one who gives or succeeded by Suja-ud-Dawla, who is very important because he is a very important actor in our Battle of Buxar story. So, very simply, Sayyid brothers, the same people who are playing power, and the Jahandar Shah, and all these people were appointed by them. Now, let me consolidate what we've done till this point. Let me consolidate. See, who is in Bengal? Who is in Bengal? Come on. Who is in Bengal? Siraj-ud-Dawla. Who is in Awadh? This is a very important thing you need to understand. A lot of students get confused. His name is Suja-ud-Dawla. And who is in Hyderabad? Very good. Nizam-ul-Mulk Asaf Jah. Now, Suja, Siraj. Siraj, bowler, Suja. Siraj, Suja, Ud-Dawla. Two different people. Now, the person Suja-ud-Din is different. So, Deen and Dawla is different. So, if I will say that in the Battle of Buxar, Suja-ud-Dawla went into an understanding with dash person, you will know where does Suja-ud-Dawla come from. No, Siraj-ud-Dawla did not help, Sayyid brothers did not help anybody. So basically, this is this point of this discussion. Create all actors. Ironically, all actors are still not in the picture. We have just created here Siraj-ud-Dawla. Here we have created, you have Hyderabad, Nizam-ul-Mulk Asaf Jah, and in Awadh we have created Suja-ud-Dawla. who is missing and what we'll do on Monday are Mysore, Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. Thereafter, the Carnatic sector, Dost Ali and Anwaruddin. We'll discuss that on Monday. So, see, very simple, very simple. What have we done today? And then you can leave. What have we done today? We have understood 3-4 very simple things. We've understood the concept of how British got concessions and established themselves. We understood the French and the Danish. And now I'm in the process of creating the actors of our story. The simple point of the matter is 2 days you have. Over the 2 days, very simply revise the timelines, attempt that question. Monday, I will discuss the question with you. But from Monday, I will tell you one thing very clearly, very, very clearly. This is going to become a little bit more complex. Why? Because I have to discuss wars with you, which is First Carnatic War, Second Carnatic War, Third Carnatic War, which is First Mysore, Second Mysore, Third Mysore, Fourth Mysore, 4 wars. Then First Maratha, Second Maratha, Third Maratha. But I can tell you one thing very, very clearly. Fortunately, UPSC has not asked maximum in the last 6 years 2 questions. So this is the process of creating the empire called the British Empire. But we have to go through this path. But fortunately, you don't have to get caught up here. My only request to you is do not find this overwhelming or too much. I am giving you the picture. You have to learn only the small trailer in it. Are you getting my point? Because what it seems is too many names, too many dates. Does not matter. Does not matter. What matters is Sirajuddaulah, Sujauddaulah, only one person. That is it. That is whatever we've done in these 3 classes, the test is going to be out of that only. Are you getting my point? Are you getting my point that there is much more in modern India than just these people? So don't get overwhelmed and don't get caught up here. Modern India, very important part of your syllabus. Cannot ignore it, cannot live without it. But I will teach you in the most smartest way possible with the least amount of effort put in and the simplest form of revision. I hope that the 3 classes have given you that picture, that how are we going to go forward and what is the strategy which is here. Very simply, I'm not going to waste your energy. I'm not going to ask you to do unhuman or what are called things which cannot be expected from you as a human. And I'm not going to just say learn it. I'm going to every time, see, I'm revising 3 to 4 times in the class. I'm trying to give you timelines so that you can revise. If you can just in a disciplined way follow me and look at the picture called modern India with me from my eyes, you will never be ever be lost in this story. And I hope that firstly you have a very productive weekend, but just revise over the weekend. On Monday, don't say who Sirajuddaulah, what Sirajuddaulah, who British, what Mausolipatnam. Don't do that. I want you to just revise. I will do everything with you. Ancient, medieval, art and culture, world history, modern India, post-independence. This is a very important part of your syllabus and you just need to be patient. I will discuss everything with you in the simplest way possible. What I need from you is just one thing. If my teaching method is working for you, just keep on telling me that you're following me, because that way I know that you are with me. You are with me. If I know that, then I can automatically gear and change. You can see one thing. I'm going slow, extremely slow. But when we enter into war, I will start to pick up the pace a little bit, right? Everybody's following me till this point? Perfect. Because if you were in front of me, I could have seen your faces and I know when students switch off. 6 years teaching in Delhi University, I know very, very well how does a student switch off. And I can see your faces right now also. In that camera, I can see that face. So many names, so many dates. But here, because there is a digital interface, I just want you to tell me. I need your feedback. And if I know that you are with me, we can conquer anything in that sense. Right? 3 modules. Just remember the timelines. Just learn the standard things. Okay, Shalu. Mohammad Shah Rangila was the one who undercut the power of Sayyids. If you don't have a question, thank you so much. I hope I'm making sense. I hope I'm doing justice to modern India. I will see you on Monday, same time, 5 p.m. Please take care of yourself. Have a great weekend. As much as you need to enjoy, but also study and just learn the basic things in that sense. Right?